Hey everybody, this is Tracy here with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and we are here to recap Power Season 5, Episode 4, which was titled Second Chances. So this episode opens up with a meeting between the Three Amigos. So Tommy rolls up late to the meeting, and everybody on Twitter is still trying to figure out, is that tracking device still on their car? Because we don't remember them taking it off last season. And so he wants to know the plan on taking out, and immediately he wants to know what's the plan to get rid of the Jimenez. So Jason's deadline is quickly approaching, and Tommy knows that Jason won't hesitate to kill them if they don't have his money. And so, of course, Kanan's standing there listening, because he's trying to get all the information that he can get. And so then Tommy and Ghost, well, actually it was Ghost said, well, let's step over here. Kanan, give us a minute. Let me go talk to Tommy in private. But him and Tommy was close enough that Kanan could still hear the whole conversation. And plus, they were talking pretty loudly. So Kanan uses this opportunity to suggest that Tommy get Teresi to help them out. And so then Ghost is like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Teresi, what Teresi got to do with this? And so then he finds out that Teresi has been released from prison. And so he's like, well, how did Kanan know before I knew, like, what is really going on with this? And then he finds out that Proctor knew also. So now he's really feeling out of the loop. So Ghost asks Kanan to give him and Tommy a minute alone, so that they can discuss the latest developments. And then Kanan asks Ghost, what about all this working together? I thought we was a team. So, of course, he pretending that he cares, that they're leaving him out of the conversation. But Ghost tells him, don't worry about it. So then he turns around and he walks away, but he got this little smirk on his face, like everything is just falling into place for him. So Ghost goes over to Tommy, and he's like, what does Teresi know? Like, you haven't told him anything about our business, what we're doing, because I don't trust Teresi, what's really going on. And he assures Ghost, that his dad wouldn't do anything to bring harm to them, because they're family. And then Ghost reminds him, he's been your family for 15 minutes, but I've been your family your whole life. And like, you need to stop getting it twisted and make sure that you're not getting us into any trouble, because Ghost knows that there's no way that the feds let Teresi go unless Teresi is working for them. And so keep in mind that Ghost is yelling at Tommy as he's saying this, so Kanan can hear the whole conversation. So then Tate calls Ghost, and Ghost steps away to take the phone call, and Tommy walks over to his car. And then he gets to his car and yells back at Ghost about, we got to deal with the Jimenez, and if I have to take them out myself, I will. And I'm like, okay, so do Tate know about the Jimenez? And then Ghost kept talking like Tate couldn't hear Tommy on the other end. Just like, do he have some noise canceling device on his phone? But Kanan is just eating it all up. So after Tommy leaves, Ghost and Kanan are trying to come up with a way to get Teresi out of the picture. And of course, Kanan is just like, well, just kill him. Why else we got to be having this conversation? But then Ghost says that he has a plan that could get Teresi out of the picture and nobody has to die, and it's just one more thing they ain't got to deal with. So he said he got something up his sleeve, but we'll see. So remember last week, Angela had got Donovan to go and get rid of Blanca Rodriguez, investigation of Ray Ray. She's in her office and Donovan comes in and he has 2 boxes and he lets her know that the investigation has technically been shut down, but Blanca doesn't trust Angela and believes that there's something else going on and that Angela's trying to cover it up. But, Angela assures him that that's not the case. She just wants Blanca out of her business because this is now a federal investigation and, she needs to know her position. So he give her the boxes and he leaves, and then they put a lot of emphasis on the fact that Angela went into her drawer. She pulled out the keys to this little desk area behind her that had like some cabinets, and so she unlocks the cabinet, put the boxes in, lock the cabinet back up, then she goes back to the drawer, puts the keys back in, then she reaches into the back of the drawer and gets the phone that she uses to call Tasha with, and she texts Tasha and lets her know that the investigation into Ray Ray is over with. And I just kept feeling like, okay, they just put so much emphasis on that movement and what she was doing that I'm wondering if it's going to come back, that somebody's going to get into that cabinet and figure out that she stopped that investigation, and if they're going to find that phone that she has. And only Angela was probably dumb enough to think that Blanca is shut down at this point, because later on we have a scene where she is still working the case and she interviews the Daryl Gaines guy. And remember, Daryl is the guy whose password that Angela uses to access the system and delete that information. So Blanca has him in there and wants to know like why he done got suspended from his job and who else had access to his password, if he working with somebody over there, like what's really going on. And so Daryl's sitting there looking all lost and confused, like he don't know if he should talk or what he should do. So Blanca informs him that she has an interesting theory on the whole situation, but she also still has information that was not seized by Jerry, because then we learned that she opens up one of those they're like the what they call those boards where you write on it with the black mark with the different markers. Well, she has one of those eraser boards, but it's hidden behind a cabinet. So when she opens the cabinet up, we see where she's been charting and connecting and got all these pictures of everybody and who's connected to who and who's done what. And then at the end of the show, she puts up a picture of Tasha. I think it was Tasha, Ghost, Raina, and Tariq, and she puts that up and she draws an arrow to Angela, between them and Angela. So I'm like, okay, like this season about to heat up right now. Like this probably was one of the better, still messy episodes, but it was one of the better episodes that kind of made us feel like we were moving somewhere. Then we had a scene where Angela interrogates Arturo. Or was that last week's episode? I can't remember. Anyway, we all know that Arturo gives up the goods and admits that he lied about killing Lorenzo and that he really just did it to getting good with the Jimenez. So he lets Angela know that the Jimenez are planning to leave the country, and where their plane is going to be leaving from. So they get the warrants to go and arrest them. So now, free man, Teresi is making his rounds and carrying out his mission to squeeze information out of Tommy and Ghost. And so the first stop that he makes is to a cemetery where Teresi tells his family history and shows he was actually putting flowers on the grave of his parents. And he basically tells Tommy that his dad was engaged to this woman, but then he got sick and went into the hospital, and he told the lady that she didn't have to stay there, she didn't have to stay there and take care of him. If she wanted to go and find somebody else, to go ahead. And that's basically what the lady did. And I think he was paralyzed. So the lady that he ended up marrying, who's actually Teresi's mom, she was his nurse. And so she nursed him back to health, I guess. And then they ended up getting married and having Tommy. And then the dad died and the mother died and all this here. So he bought all these headstones and then this family monument and everything. And then he was telling Tommy where him and Connie are going to be buried. And so I'm just like, Teresi is so full of crap. And it's just so interesting, like things that are so important to mobsters while they're out killing people and dealing drugs and everything. Now that Teresi's a free man, he's making his rounds, checking in with everybody. And he goes over to that restaurant where Vincent hangs out at. And so Vincent, introduces him to everybody and tells him, telling him what a great guy Teresi is and how he did 25 years in prison, never snitched on anybody, and that, this is a good time for the family, and that, Teresi's due all the respect in the world. He lets Teresi get up and speak, and so Teresi, he's thanking everybody and telling them, that this is what family's all about, and then he tells them about Tommy, and Tommy is his son, and welcome his son into the family. So while everyone is happy that Tony is walking the streets again, there was this one guy that was looking at Vincent like, okay, who let him out of jail and why they let him out of jail? like this is so unreal. So, okay, we got Ghost who know that something is up. Tommy is kind of thinking that something is up. And now we got one of the little mobster guys who's like, this don't make no sense. But Vincent tells him, show some respect. This man did 25 years and everybody that snitched is now dead. So don't question him on what's going on. So then Tommy takes Teresi back to the house, and so he gets a phone call from Jason. And so he's telling Jason, everything's going to work out, just give him time and everything. So Teresi's kind of listening. So then when Jason hangs up on Tommy, Teresi's like trying to figure out what's going on. Son, if you need some help, let me know. I can take care of it. But no matter what he says or how much concern he shows, Tommy doesn't break and give up any information. He ends up like getting in the car, telling him he don't need no help. He got it under control, and he jumps in the car and leaves. So then we go over to Dre, who is clearly in over his head. Diego has already warned Dre to keep his eyes off of Alicia, but Alicia clearly wants her some Dre. So she rolls up on Dre, and so he's going through the books and everything when Alicia, taps him on the shoulder and basically tells him that, things are slowing down, that Diego's being a nuisance. He's run up a tab of $60,000. Several of the bar girls have quit because they don't like Diego hitting on them, and his behavior is too aggressive, and that one of Karen Bassett's managers is beginning to notice that the numbers are off, and that could affect the deal. And so Alicia agrees that they need to find a solution, and tells Dre that she'll be sending him instructions on the matter real soon. We go over to Tasha and Ghost. So Tasha and Ghost are trying to cope with the loss of Raina. And, she's upset by the fact that, he won't go to the meetings with her. He won't really talk to her. And so they already have an interesting arrangement going on because she didn't leave him, when he cheated on her with Angela. And then when he got arrested, she had to stay and hold everything down. But Tasha's at the point where she has had enough of Ghost and his shenanigans. And so they're supposed to have been going to this fundraiser that Tate was doing. And so Ghost comes in and Tasha's in the bed sleeping. So he's like, Tasha, what are you doing? Get up, wake up. And so she wakes up, and he has a bottle in his hand where she had been taking these sleeping pills. And she was like, well, I'm not going to be able to go. I'm not feeling up to it. And he reminds her that she was the one that was supposed to have been giving the speech. But then Tasha was like, I just can't do it. I'm tired. And then he told her, you ain't tired. You just selfish. You only think about yourself. And then Tasha got up and she was like, are you crazy? Like, all I done put up for you, all I done sacrificed and did for you, and you got the nerve to be talking about I'm selfish. She was like, no, the only thing that matters to you is you. So, Ghost is like, I'm going to go do the meeting by myself. So all throughout the episode, Ghost was like yelling at Tasha and blaming her for stuff. And I'm just like, really, dude? Like, y'all both hurting. Why can't y'all just come together and soothe each other? So then the first argument was the one that they had about her not going to the banquet. And then the second argument takes place when Tasha decides that she gonna leave Ghost. Like, she done had enough. She tired of everything that's going on. And so he comes in after the banquet. It was like basically telling her that he loses his mind, that he was up there trying to give the speech, and that he thought a girl in the audience was Raina, and that he left out off the stage to go and get the girl and realize that it wasn't her, and that, he's losing it. But Tasha was like, that ain't her problem no more, and her and the baby leaving, and before that she had actually was telling her mom that she had decided to leave, and the mom was asking her like, okay, why are you leaving, Tasha? Like, both of y'all are hurting. People deal with death different ways, and losing a child is a really hard thing, and are you being too harsh, or is it the fact that you got another man? And by the way, who was that man that you was hugging at Raina's funeral? Like, is he behind all of this? And so of course Tasha says it's not, but we had already known that Tasha was actually moving. Now, people were saying that she moved into Silver's house, but I think he may have owned the place that she moved into, because when the two of them were talking, he said, you can come and live with me. You can move in with me. But she said no, that she didn't want to do that. So I'm thinking that he got her the place that her and Yasmin eventually move into. And speaking of moving into the place, Tasha was so messy, because that same picture I was telling y'all that the Blanca Rodriguez lady posted up on her little charting board, Tasha had that same picture, and this is the other reason I think she didn't move in with Silver, but may have moved into a place that he owned, was because when she was unpacking her things, she had that same picture that she had brought from her house and sat it on the table. And I'm like, Natasha, whether that is where Silver lives, or if that's a place he got for you, that you were dead wrong for bringing that picture with you. So then we move over to Proctor. So Proctor just wants to be a dad to his daughter, and so he's sitting there, and he's I think the daughter was eating or something, and he was going over her homework when his drug addict wife walks in. And y'all know how I feel about these condos or whatever these buildings are, where people just walk into the building unannounced. So he had told her like, oh, I see your name is still on the list, but I don't care if a name was on the list or not. You're not just gonna walk into my house and I don't have no say so. Like, you don't ring the doorbell, you don't buzz when I come and open the elevator door, nothing that. People just walking into your house. That is just crazy to me. So she's basically saying that she done been clean for a month, and she wanted to see the daughter and let the daughter know that she's going to be getting 50-50 visitation soon, and for the daughter to just hold on a little while longer. And meanwhile, the daughter looking at her like, I don't want to go live with you. I am happy where I'm at. So then later on, Proctor reaches out to Ghost to share some information that he has regarding Teresi, but he has no idea that Ghost already knows that Tommy reached out to him. So then he got to clean that up, and Ghost is like, how you keep talking about we, but then you didn't let me know that any of this is going on, and you're just trying to protect your own self. So Proctor tells Ghost, to not get involved in any illegal activity with Tommy, because Mark is on their case, and that we also know that he's really trying to cover his behind, because he done already agreed to help Tommy launder this dirty money that he has. And if we had forgotten, Homeland Security agent Bailey Markham, where he has resurfaced. So later on in the show, the FBI, under the orders of John Mock, shows up unannounced at Proctor's place. And you don't really need to be announced. You just get off the elevator and walk on in the house. And so Proctor's like, what are y'all doing? What's going on? So the guy, hands him the subpoena and was like, oh, well, you know what this is. So they're basically there because Angela was going through these phone records, and Tommy's name came up on the phone records, and it bounced off of a tower that was near Proctor's apartment. And so they've gotten this search warrant, and they tell him that, they were there because that was the last place that they were able to trace Bailey to. So Proctor asked him, is John Mock behind this? But the guys, they didn't care. And so he was standing there, he argued with the guy. I'm like, please don't say nothing to implicate yourself, because then they had like that little laser light that finds blood in places. And so they were like going over the kitchen, and it was like they knew it was in the kitchen, because they were going all over the countertop and everything. And then Proctor was having flashbacks to when Tommy stabbed Markham in the kitchen. And I'm thinking, I don't know what kind of chemicals he used to clean that place up, but it doesn't appear that they found anything. And don't forget that Proctor has Bailey's laptop, so maybe by the end of all of this, he's going to use that laptop to get himself out of trouble. So then we go over to Kanan. So Kanan wants a second chance at being the most significant drug lord in New York City. So he's seizing the opportunity, even at the expense of Tommy and Ghost. So the plan was to make Tommy no longer attractive to the mafia family, and so Kanan plans to initiate a drive-by shooting, which will make them think that Tommy is still, like a street-level drug dealer, and he's bringing trouble to their doorsteps. So he gets these two guys and gives them guns to tell them to do the drive-by, but then says he doesn't want them to use real bullets because he doesn't want anybody to get killed. So he gives them a box of blanks. And then the guy's like, what? And so he was like, just listen, I know I got this all planned out. Like, ain't nobody gonna die. So the guys go off and get in the car, and then they sitting there like, is he crazy? Like, what if these people shoot back at us and then we ain't got no real bullets to defend ourselves? So then they put real bullets in their guns. So they go to do the drive-by, and then somehow, I think Tommy shot the tires out. Somebody shot the tires out. It might have been Kanan shot the tires out. And so the mafia guys, they run off. I think one of them might have got shot in the leg. And so then they run and hide. Then Kanan comes up, and he kills the two guys that he hired to do the drive-by. And then the mafia guys come running back out. Then they're about to shoot Kanan, but then Tommy's like, no, he's with me. And so now Tommy done got the end, and they go in and they sitting down and talking, and then Kanan. So now Kanan has the end with the mafia guys, and so they invite him back into the restaurant, and Kanan's sitting down talking to Vincent, and he's just saying just enough. First he's like, I ain't no snitch, but then he says just enough to get Vincent to be looking at Tommy in a different light. So back over to Angela, now that she has all the information that she needs to get an arrest warrant for the Jimenez. She's just so proud of herself, so full of herself, and they go and roll up on the Jimenez. But what was so funny was that they were out at this airport getting ready to leave when Dre and Cristobal comes up, and so Alicia gives Dre the money that Diego owes her, and so the two of them are talking and everything, and Diego looking like, what the hell going on? So then Dre and Cristobal leave, and then as they are leaving in this black SUV, here come 4 more SUVs rolling up, and then all of a sudden they flash their lights, and Dre like, oh my God, what's going on? Let's get out of here, so they take off. So the Alicia and Diego and the rest of their and the rest of their clique, they don't put up a fight or anything. They put their hands up and go willingly. And I'm thinking like, okay, well, y'all didn't think that Dre had something to do with this? Like, how convenient was it that Dre pulls off and then all of a sudden the feds pull up? But that doesn't seem to be an inkling in their head. So they get them back to the headquarters, and everybody's celebrating and congratulating Angela on the job well done. And so Tamika tells Angela, since she was the mastermind, that she gets to interrogate them first. And so then Angela was like, well, thank you, I'm going to go and get on Miss Alicia. And then also when they were arresting them, Angela called Alicia like, I got you, bitch, or something like that. And Alicia just looked at her, and I was like, oh boy, Angela, you got the wrong one on you're on the wrong side of the wrong one right now. So the victory was short-lived because then all of a sudden Steve popped up. So he was like, they was going to have to let Alicia and Diego go, and that he had orders. And so Angela was like, well, what do you mean you have orders? You're just the director of the interior. She was like trying to make it seem like his title didn't mean anything, but he let her know that he's so high up on the totem pole that she can't look that high, and he couldn't tell her why they were going to let the Jimenez people go, but she just had to follow those orders. And then he said he was going in to talk to Alicia, and so he needed all recording devices turned off. And so he goes in and he unplugged the camera, turned off the little microphone thing, and was basically telling Alicia that she could go. And Alicia was like, why? What is this all about? You got all the evidence that you need. And so she was going on about how her cartel was so big and that they were running it so well that there wasn't a lot of gang wars and stuff like that taking place. And he said, well, I can't tell you why you're being let go. I'm just letting you know that you are being let go. So then it was revealed that Alicia planted the gun that they found, that gold gun, to set Diego up because she wanted him to get arrested. So basically Alicia wants Diego out of the operation. and to be done with him, but she doesn't want to kill him. So then she asked Steve, well, can you keep Diego? And he said, no, if you want to get rid of your brother, you have to do it on your own. We ain't getting caught up in none of that. So then they let them go, and so as they're walking out, Angela's still standing there, and then Alicia give her that look like, "Help, I remember you called me a bitch, and I wrote that down. It's going to come back on you eventually." So they walk on out. Diego looking all confused, like, what the hell is going on? This gonna be a trip, but I must say this was one of the better episodes out of the 4 we done had so far. So it does seem like things are starting to move a little bit. So after everybody was gone out, it was just Angela and Steve talking. So she was like, "You set me up. You just slept with me to get information." And he basically told Angela that she was just a fly on the wall, and that he ain't need to set her up to have sex with her to get information from her. Like, girl, you ain't that important, and I know way more about these people than you will ever know, so get on out my way. Now, I did like what you did, and I do want to do it again, but as far as this case is going, I didn't need you to do any of this. I could have brought them in myself if that's what we wanted. And of course, that made Angela feel like she was about this big. So then we go over to Ghost. So Ghost has his own issues. He's dealing with Tommy and Kanan. Tasha done left him. Tate done lost confidence in him and everything. And then I forgot to mention that Tate done went and decided that Ghost can no longer be the face of this whole Queen's project, but they need a younger, fresher look. So he done went to Dre and asked Dre to be the face of the project. And so when he first asked Dre was like, not my rodeo. I ain't trying to be all out in the public. I don't care nothing about this project. Like, dude, what is you talking about? And so then Tate, was saying, well, we need a fresher approach to this. Ghost just ain't, well, he didn't call him Ghost, he called him James. He's just really not working out right now. He's got too much on his plate. And so I just wanted to go in a different direction. But then Dre was like, nah, man, you on your own. So he left. So when we get to the end of the show, they go to this meeting of the board of directors, which Tasha don't go to either. So Ghost goes in alone, and he finds out that Dre done changed his mind. I guess after that whole Alicia and Diego getting arrested, Dre was like, let me go in a different direction here. And so he has decided that he'll become the face. So when Ghost walks in, then Dre starts with his little acceptance speech and thanking them and saying that he wanted to thank Mr. St. Patrick, that even though, he worked together and they had their differences and he decided to go work with the competition, that James was never mean to him or mean-spirited. He still helped him and guided him and showed him the way. And so Ghost was standing there like, oh, y'all got me good, but I'm going to get the last laugh on this one. So then he goes over, because Tate said, oh, y'all, let's take a picture together. So he goes around, and then he basically, says that, he'll never forget this. Let Tate know. This opportunity, this moment will never be forgotten. So they take the pictures and everything. So after that, he done pretty much lost everything. He drinking more. He's just, everything is spiraling out of control for him. So the show ends with a scene where he gets a phone call and he says, oh, well, where you want to meet at? And so he goes to this restaurant. So he's sitting in the restaurant. He's the only one there. The bartender is serving him a drink and everything. So then finally the person he was waiting on shows up, and it is none other than Miss Angela. So then, he asks her, what took you so long to get back to me? And then she looking like, it doesn't matter. I'm here now, Jamie. I'm here to take care of everything. When in actuality, her pride is just bruised at the moment because Steve treated her like the trick that she is. And then all of a sudden the bartender comes over and she says, do you guys know what you want? And then they looking at each other like they want to just strip and go get naked right there on the bar. I'm at the point now, if we got to go through these two being together again, I'm about to become Team Dre, because I am not here for the Ghost and Angela hookup. So guys, if I forgot anything, I usually try to do these recaps, lump everybody's scenes together, but I did something different this week, and I kind of like felt in my mind I was all over the place. So next week I think I'm going to go back to the way I did it before, because I just feel like I didn't do things in the right order in this video. But anyway, if I missed anything, if I misspoke on anything, leave your comments below. Leave it in the comments below. Rate the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, I shall talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.